He's one of the best competition shooters in the world, Daniel Horner with Sig SAUER. We're going to cover a wide range of topics here. One of them being, how do you become as good as he is? This Gun Talk Nation is brought to you by EOTECH, Sig SAUER, Ballistic Advantage, and Hodgdon Powder. All right, here we go with another Gun Talk Nation. Today on Gun Talk Nation, it's the man, the myth, the legend, Daniel Horner. Welcome in, man.
Thank you. Appreciate you letting me be on here.
All right.
This is an awesome opportunity.
Daniel, I have a theory, all right? And I've said it on and off over the years on some of these podcasts and stuff, but you are the perfect guy to talk about with this, okay?
Okay.
Now, you do Sig SAUER, you do several other brands that are awesome. However, people drive me crazy with being so focused on the gear. And like, I'm a drummer. So people would be like, oh, what drums do you play? Or what sticks or what cymbals or whatever. I'm like, dude, Stevie Ray Vaughan could pick up any guitar and you would be like, that dude's awesome. Right?
Yeah.
So is it the Indian or the arrows? And how much does it matter?
I mean, obviously the same person with better equipment is going to do better with the better equipment. You know, if I have a not Sig and I'm shooting that, I'm going to do not as well as I would do if I had a Sig, right?
Sure. No, I'm not picking on Sig. Sig's awesome. They're great. But I'm just saying, like, people get so wrapped around the axle about, like, what is the gun? What is the optic? What is the ammo that's going to, whatever, make my hunting better or my shooting better? And it's just like a pet peeve of mine. I'm like, no, I mean, like, obviously,
I'll tell you this, the dude that does 10,000 draws is better than the guy that does 1,000.
Right.
I've seen it in real life.
In real life. Yes.
Real life. People always ask me, I always hate seeing that stuff on social media. People always ask me, like, no, they didn't. Stop. But I really do get the question a lot about how much do I dry fire and what should people do to dry fire? And I tell them that what I do with the dry fire is ridiculous compared to what they should do for dry fire, because we've got two different goals, right? My challenge to somebody who is like, you know, is it the Indian, is it the arrow, something like that? Dry fire for 5 minutes every single week. Just 5 minutes every single week. If you can do that, you will be better than you were today, and that's all that matters. And it doesn't matter if you got there by practicing or by buying better equipment, but you're better today than you were yesterday, and that's what we're really trying to do. And if you can dry fire for 5 minutes a week for a while, go to 10 minutes a week if that's something that's important to you to get better at.
Well, I like that because it's not a big ask. It's like, okay, 5 minutes a week. Hell, even if you broke that up into 2 different sessions and you had 2 minutes, you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's what is that? That's 10 Instagram videos, or 5 Instagram videos now. Now they went to 1 minute. Just,
dude.
Yeah.
It's
you
like,
can still scroll Instagram and dry fire.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, now that brings me to another pet peeve is people saying, well, I don't have time to do that. I'm like, give me your phone. Let me see your screen time application. Let me see how much time you're spending on all this other junk.
One of my good buddies says if it's a priority, you'll make time. If it's not a priority, you'll make excuses. So
I like it.
Yeah, if it's important enough, you'll figure out how to make it happen. Right? Like, we all figure out how to get groceries every single day.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, and I appreciate you indulging me on that one. I mean, obviously better gear is better, right? And I'm kind of generally in the past been kind of a stock guy, like, okay, just whatever it is, it's good. Then I realized that there are a lot of aftermarket things, certainly in the gun world, that can improve your shooting. But then we also have what's happening is what we've seen in cars and other places is like the manufacturers are putting really good sort of either aftermarket or just from them, better triggers, better brakes, better whatevers. I mean, you guys are doing that.
Oh man. And the amount of tests, the one you talk about like little pet peeves and stuff. One thing that drives me nuts is people are like, oh, I tested it. SIG shoots a 55-gallon drum of brass a day testing.
Yeah.
Right. Like a day, because I had to know these things. There's about 8,000 ish pieces of 9 mil brass in one 5-gallon bucket. Right. Like
Holy
a 55
crap.
gallon a day. So like the and the R&D side is exponential to that.
Yeah.
So for a trigger to get safety certed, it's millions of rounds, literally. So, there's real testing that goes into these things. Now, does something slip through from time to time? Absolutely. But that testing is far superior to the I went and ran, 200 rounds of the cheapest thing I could find at a gun show, and so therefore it's tested. There's a
Right.
big difference.
I heard, or my buddy told me, or whatever. It's like,
Oh yeah,
dude, I promise you, we've tested this more than you have.
right. But it's also like, what am I trying to do with it, right? Am I trying to win a national championship? Because if I'm trying to do that, 2% matters a lot, a whole lot. This year, a half of a tenth of a percent mattered a whole lot.
It was that
So
close.
it was that close. So, if I'm trying to do that, I'm willing to run gear that's maybe a little bit more on the ragged edge, right? I might need slightly more accuracy than a normal barrel provides, things like that. But if I'm just trying to get a gun that's going to run 10,000 rounds, and I'm going to do that over the next 5 years, then maybe from the factory is what I'm looking for. Certainly, if my drive is like personal protection or something like that.
Talk about that, because some people may not understand. There is a difference in getting a gun, certainly, especially, I'd say a semi-auto gun, to be as accurate as possible, or different mission, to be as reliable as possible. And what are the differences if you went one extreme to the other extreme?
The gunsmiths at the AMU, I about drove them nuts. The first time I had a true custom pistol built for me for competition. I was like, here's the accuracy requirement: 6 inches at 25 yards. That way, if I break a perfect shot, I'm hitting an 8-inch plate every single time. I was like, but no malfunctions, no exceptions, because the odds of me needing that final little, and the gun shot way better than that. Honestly, my gun's probably shot 1.5 inches or 2 inches at 25, and that's really, really, really good for a pistol. Now back then times have changed a little bit. Now our M17s are going to the Army. Honestly, they shoot about that. They shoot about as good as my match gun did, which is absolutely crazy to me. But that same style of pistol that they built me, that I told them, I was like, I basically don't care about the accuracy as long as it's relatively good, and I care about the reliability. They could take that same gun, and one of the guys could repeatedly outshoot a ransom rest. And if you don't believe me, go down to the AMU. They'll show you the targets. This dude could shoot a 1.5-inch group at 50 yards, strong hand only, repeatedly. James Henderson. And
wow.
But that gun wasn't built to crawl around the mud, right? And be drugged through Nevada desert and all that stuff. So like you said, two totally different guns. Now the main difference is basically how tight the tolerances are, right? So if the same input is given, the same output will be provided. So if I can make that gun lock up the exact same way every single time, and everything happen exactly the same way, the tolerances are super, super tight, the bullet's going to go in the exact same spot every single time. And that's how you get that accuracy, is that there's no variance between shots. And the only way to do that is to lock up extremely tight every time. Now, if you've got dirt or things like that in there, that gun can't lock up. It's going to cause the malfunctions. If you have it built a little more loosely, that dirt can go to different spots and it's not going to malfunction the gun, and you're still going to be okay.
It's almost counterintuitive, because you would think, well, if it's tight, dirt can't get in there. It keeps the dirt out. But you're saying, like, and we kind of know this to be true.
Yeah.
A looser running gun is going to generally be more reliable, even though, like, I guess dirt can get in there, but dirt falls out.
And that's the thing, man. Like, how accurate do you need it to be? I mean, how many guys need a gun that can shoot an inch at 50 yards, right? Like, I'm happy if I hit the C zone at 50 yards.
Right.
So, and I shoot a lot.
All right. So after a quick break, when we come back, I want to talk about what's new at Sig Sauer, because you guys have been introducing some new stuff. Ruger just introduced a new gun, the LC carbine. What is the LC carbine, you ask? Well, yes, it is a carbine rifle, shorter length barrel, but this one isn't chambered in 5.7 by 28. And it's got a folding adjustable length of pull stock. You can get it with the 20 round capacity magazine in the gun. It is a really cool shooting gun. What's great about a 5.7 and a carbine? Very low recoil, but it packs a punch. Great for backpacking, small game, very versatile. And I've shot it. It's very reliable, very fun, under 6 pounds. So check out the Ruger LC carbine. New from EOTECH, the EOTECH eFlex Mini Red Dot sight. You know red dot sights and you know EOTECH, but they've actually never done a red dot. They had their holographic sights, which are a bigger footprint, but now using red dot technology, they get into a smaller footprint. They have very clear glass, and they've actually made the window similar aspect ratio as the other EOTECH optics, so it's kind of a nice wide field of view. Check out the EOTECH eFlex Mini Reflex. I used it on a turkey hunt, and it was awesome. The latest from Sig Sauer is the P365X Macro. It's an expansion of the P365 line, which that gun is known to be great shooting and holding a lot of ammo for being such a small package. Well, this is the bigger daddy of this one, and it's actually 17 rounds in the magazine, so 18 rounds in the gun. This is a gun that we're starting to talk about as being a really good duty weapon, could be, because it's still a smallish package, which saves you a little bit of weight, makes it a little bit easier to carry. And it, of course, being a SIG, it's optics ready. And the X Macro, this one is comped into the slide, so that's pretty cool as well. Check it out over at sigsauer.com. All right, Daniel. So the P365 changed everything in concealed carry guns. It truly did. And you guys have been expanding on that family with all these different variations. And it's funny because, I mean, they have guys like you who are real shooters who, I guess this is why it seems like when they keep bringing out iterations, it would be like, okay, it's a new flavor, but each iteration seems to have a purpose and seems to be pretty cool. Talk about the latest one.
The Macro.
Yeah.
So, to me, that's kind of the pinnacle of small concealed carry style guns. I mean, it's small. It's significantly smaller than, any full size gun that's been scaled down. And it's really not that much bigger than a compact gun for what you get out of it. So you get the 17 round magazine, so I can carry 18 rounds in the gun. I've got the compensated slide, so it's extremely shootable. I actually just put a video up yesterday comparing my match ammo, which is, competition ammo. It's not hot for the reason I don't need it to be, compared to plus P personal protection ammo, and did a slow-mo side by side, and it's like the exact same amount of muzzle rise. It's absolutely crazy. So you've got an extremely shootable 18 round, carry gun that's got all the reliability and features of a carry pistol.
Well, and when you say 18 round gun, I think a lot of people have a certain size gun in their head. I mean, most of us would go, well, that's not really a carry gun. That's a big full size gun. But you have managed, again, it's that P365 a magic sauce. You've managed to fit all these rounds in a smaller footprint, a smaller package. How small?
I'm trying to come up with the exact measurements for you right now. But if we're talking the 365 macro, which is the 17 round mag, versus the 15 round magazine pistol, the XL, you're talking a little over 3/10 of an inch taller. Wow. So that's the only thing that, I mean, it's very, very small. The width of one, not even the width of one 9mm bullet, right? Yeah. So it's not a lot. And then if you compare it to the height, so we're going from the bottom of the magazine to the top of the sights, right? That's what we're talking about here. From the small 10 round, it depends on which one you pick as far as the magazine capacity. You're talking about a distance of less than an inch, or right at an inch, it looks like.
Yeah, so I guess I say all that to say it holds as many rounds or more rounds than what I would call a full-size gun, but it's a bit smaller. The grip got 0.3 of an inch larger-ish. Longer, right? But the grip itself, circumference-wise, is still a very trim, easy,
and most
grip.
Everybody that I've seen was, when they pick that gun up, they're like, this is what I'm looking for right now, because it doesn't feel like a subcompact, tiny little gun that I'm looking at 10 or 12 yards to shoot the thing. Like, this is a real pistol that you can carry, and this is a great like duty pistol. This is something that I could totally see police switching to this gun, because it's light, it's small, you can still put a red dot on it, you can still put a flashlight on it, all those things, but I'm saving some serious weight, some serious size, and for people with smaller hands, it's much more shootable than a full-size gun. Every single person I've handed this gun to has been like, this is it, this is the perfect pistol, this is the one I want.
Yeah, we were having that same discussion about it being an interesting option for a duty gun, because you're losing weight, you're not losing any capacity. In fact, you're gaining it depending on what people are carrying. It's pretty awesome. What have you heard from shooters out there and customers and that kind of thing? What's the reaction been?
I haven't talked to anybody that having it just launched, like literally just launched. So I haven't talked to anybody that has got their hands on one in the market yet, but everyone that we talked to testing it and designing it and all that stuff, like, it's a game changer. I mean, and it's kind of cliche to say that nowadays, but it's seriously, go pick one up. You're going to, if you want a good little duty gun, that's about as good as it's ever going to get. Super round count, still has all the features, but lightweight and concealable and all the good things.
What goes into, if you've already have the P365 and then you kind of expand on that concept and like looking at the X Macro, what goes into, is it really like creating a new gun? Is it the same amount of engineering and testing, or is it you guys approach it a different way?
So that is, it's still got the fire control unit of the 365. So as far as reliability, function, and all that, internally, it's the same, right? So I can take my 365 SAU and put it into any of these grip modules, and it's still going to be great, right?
Okay.
The slide, though, with that compensator in there, it had to go through, start over day one testing, because it had a significant change with that compensator in there, and it had to get designed and refined, and the springs and everything had to get tuned to the point that it ran 100% with that new design change.
So it's not just a matter of putting a new slide on the gun or putting a new frame with the fire control unit.
Yeah, no, not at all. So it's people have no idea how much thing goes into these things. It's absolutely insane. Like, I thought I shot a lot. One of the guys that tests his, I think he said his biggest day was 6,200 rounds one day.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That might drive you to not wanting to shoot.
Well, you have a mag loading machine. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
It's impressive, man.
What do you do for a living? I just make once fired brass all day long. That's what I do. I manufacture once fired brass professionally. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I walked around when we were testing the machine gun, and there was a 55-gallon drum of once fired match grade 338 Norma Magnum brass.
Oh my gosh. We should talk about that. You guys are doing things that are maybe not consumer grade, but very, very cool. I mean, talk about some of the new stuff on that side of the house.
I mean, so we won the next gen weapon system. So I mean, it's that's a carbine to replace the M4, which will be the M5, and the machine gun to replace the 249 saw with the 250. The guns are, so it allows the capability to utilize the hybrid ammo. And so basically, if you haven't seen the hybrid ammo, the bottom 3/8 inch of the casing is now made out of steel, which allows us to drive much higher pressures. And so that sounds cool, but what does that like actually mean, right? So if we think about, if we were to shoot a 200 grain projectile, right? So let's think of 200 grain projectile. What shoots that? A 45 and a 300 Win Mag. So a 45 shoots it at about 28,000 PSI. 300 Win Mag shoots at about 60,000 PSI. So you're talking a 30,000 PSI increase. A 300 Win Mag has more energy in that bullet at 2,000 meters than the 45 does at the muzzle.
Wow.
So it's a lot more, right? It's not the same at all, right? Now we're going from 60,000 PSI to 80 or 90,000 PSI. So we're making that jump again. We're basically, the jump that we made from black powder to smokeless powder has been made again from standard case to hybrid case technology. And this new case technology is it's not a small step forward. It's not a better way of, it's not the new latest 6mm craze. This is a completely different animal.
Well, and you're saying that's all done within the case of the ammunition. This isn't a change in the chambering or the manufacturing of the gun necessarily.
No, I mean, it's led to new manufacturing technology with harder materials, because you're the number one question everybody's always asking, well, what about barrel life? Well, we've got barrel life figured out. Like, there's better barrel technology out there, and Sig has found it. So now we're getting accuracy way beyond what anybody ever thought was possible. And it's holding accuracy. So it's not like degrading to acceptable accuracy immediately and then staying there. It's staying accurate for a very, very long time. So we obviously can take that same answer and bring it back to standard case technology and significantly improve barrel life there as well. But that's one, like, I just can't overstate, like, you are basically adding a supercharged car, right? Like, that car is not the same car. It is not a small performance increase. We've increased by 20% that you cannot do any other way.
Yeah, I mean, because usually there's limitations on just physics of all this stuff. You can't just crank up the pressures and get more velocity. When is that going to start? What are, I guess, people in the military start actually using it and seeing that and putting it into use?
I don't know the date for sure, but I know it's a very accelerated program. So
usually those things take a little time.
Normally it's many years. This is much faster than that. Much faster. Like,
all right, Daniel, when we come back from this break, we're going to talk about how someone could become Daniel Horner. Springfield Armory has a stupid deal going on right now. I describe it as stupid as in like really good. It's called the Gear Up, and this is their latest Gear Up promotion. Buy a pistol, get 3 extra mags and a range bag for free. And if you've never bought extra mags, you may not understand what kind of a deal this is. Magazines are expensive, and Springfield Armory's magazines are really nice. So it's now through the end of September, the Gear Up promotion over at springfield-armory.com. Buy a pistol, get 3 extra mags and a range bag for free. Ballistic Advantage, they've got some deals going on right now. They have a Labor Day sale across their whole site, and they also have another deal. So Labor Day sale, shop now, 20% off site-wide. Get barrels, get uppers, get lowers, get parts, get merch, get all kinds of stuff. Also, if you spend more than $500 over on their site, you get a free watch. What? A free watch? Yeah. A Sands 13 Tactical Sport Watch, or the Sands 13 Tactical Sport Watch, silver or black. That's a $300 value. So Go check out ballisticadvantage.com and get yourself building a gun. All right. So I read this story, Daniel, about a guy who was a golfer, and he was a scratch golfer. And he came to one of these golf coaches who coached pro golfers. And he said, I'm independently wealthy. I'm 45 years old. I have 5 years to commit full time to being good enough to play on the senior PGA Tour when I'm 50. What do I need to do? And the story goes that that coach said, it cannot be done. You cannot, I know you're already a good golfer, but you cannot in 5 years get ready to play on the PGA Tour or senior PGA Tour. So I guess if somebody came to you and said, hey, I'm a pretty good shooter and I'm going to dedicate 5 years and I want to be the top, what would I guess one, could it be done? And if so, how could it be done?
If you had 5 years to dedicate to becoming the best shooter, you would need to do whatever it took to get onto the Army Marksmanship Unit action shooting team. And I don't know another way that you could possibly pull it off. I mean, if you were, I literally don't know any other way that you could possibly in 5 years do that. What does it do for someone to get on to the AMU? I mean, what does it do for their shooting? What does it do for their skill set? Oh, it's almost like unimaginable. You know, you're literally, so I was there for 13 years. And the Army Marksmanship Unit's mission is to train, to win national, international competitions and train warfighters. So, and that's basically how my career went there. So I spent about 50% of my time winning and 50% of my time teaching other people that were immediately deploying, right? So we rapidly got away from, I'm deploying next training cycle to, like, if you're not deploying in the next 3 or 4 months, like, that's where we need to be. Yeah. But I would hire guys in, and when we had the opportunity to sit down and talk to them, and this is right before they would come and get a real tryout. I would say, look, man, wherever you're at, you're really good, right? But there's a big difference between being really good and winning consistently at the top, right? And I was like, I promise you're going to come here, you're going to get the job, and everybody's going to be happy, right? And then you're going to get here and you're going to realize that every single day you get your butt kicked pretty severely, right? And it doesn't matter. You could be the best at one thing, but it's literally one thing. And then I tell them, like, you're going to work as hard as you can every single day. One day you're going to win a national championship, and that's going to be awesome. And we're going to be very happy for you. But that's going to be on a Sunday, right? We're going to fly back on Monday, and you're going to come back to work on Tuesday. And that guy over there won an Olympic gold medal, and that guy over there just set a world record, and that guy over there won his 12th national titles. So, and we're all going to be happy for you, but it's a totally different environment. And when you're in that environment where it's like, I can set a course of fire up and then have 5 world champions watch me and critique me, man, if you apply yourself, you can get really, really good really fast, as long as you're hungry and humble and willing to learn. Then they will teach you, and they will make you very, very, very good very quickly. And once you get, what kind of our deal was when I was there was, once you won your national championship and whatever it was you were hired to do, then you could branch out, right? And so I would do my very best to go and work with, the shotgun team or the service rifle team or occasionally the service pistol team, and just learn something. The one thing I was always down in the gun shop, but I never like sat down there and actually learned how to build guns and stuff like that. I understand conceptually, right? But I can't run the machines. I can't file and do stuff the way that they can. But there's a massive opportunity to learn. And, that is how you could pull that off in 5 years, get someplace like that where it's not, owning all the ammunition and all the guns is great, but it'd be like me having the best race car. Like, what do I do now? I can't put it in first gear. So yeah. It's immersive. The knowledge is important stuff. And you have that like skunk works of all these people who are just
They'd
Oh,
eat, sleep, and dream it.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, it's another crazy place. Like, you can almost not even describe. But like, I went over to the international, or to the shotgun team, and so, one of my buddies there, Glenn Eller, he's won 2 Olympic gold medals. And I remember the first time he took me over to a skeet field, and he's like, "All right, man, let's just see what you're working with." And he pulled that trap, and that sucker shot out of there, and I was like, "Oh my God." Because we'd shot skeet, right? Like, we all going to go on a Saturday and shoot some skeet.
Right.
That's American skeet, right? American skeet's like 40 miles an hour. They shoot international skeet. International skeet's like 72 miles an hour.
Oh my God.
And they shoot it with basically half the shot that's in a shot shell that me and you are familiar with. So they're shooting like a full choke basically at this target that's going twice as fast. And it was for him, it was how many times could he clean it? Not how many did he miss, but how many times could he clean it in a row?
Yeah. It's like cyborg kind of stuff.
Oh yeah. They would do a demo. One of the guys, he was leaving like right as I got there. He would get on a unicycle and ride a unicycle around the course, shooting international skeet from the hip.
From the hip.
Yeah, from the hip. So just if you think you're all right, go see another team, and they'll show you how it can be done.
Yeah. Stay humble for sure.
The other thing, man, like, is I really genuinely believe that once you get to the top 10 guys at any national level, anything, are all capable of doing the same stuff. They're physically able to accomplish the tasks, right? It's who can actually perform under the pressure, who can mentally handle that situation and rise up and perform when it matters. And that's the mental side of it, is what really separates the good from the great.
You teach mental prep classes, don't you?
I do. I've taught it maybe 4 or 5 times outside of the military.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's super important to me, and it's something that every chance that I teach a lot of classes throughout the year, and I always tell them, like, there's a million guys that can teach how to shoot rifle, right? Like, but let me talk to you about this stuff right here, because this is truly important, and this is truly, I'll tell them, like, this is the most valuable thing that I've got. Like, shooting a pistol, shooting a rifle, yeah, I can do it really well, I can explain it really well, but it's just kind of a different way of doing the same thing. But this is very important.
The mental game.
Oh yeah. Like, so, and how much of what you do is mental?
Oh, a ton. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, everybody's
right.
But people look at you and they think it's so physical. It's like how your stance and your grip and your trigger press and all these things, and they don't think about the mental part as much, I think.
Yeah, and you got to have all that stuff down, right? And there's, people say there's no right answer. You got to find with it what fits you, and that to some degree is true. But there's also a degree of like physics, right? Like, if I hold a pistol a certain way, it's physically, it's physically better from me holding it standpoint. But also, like, if you look at it from a physics standpoint, this is providing more leverage and more stability. Like, there are better ways to do certain things, and you can teach that in no time, right? I can teach you how the best way to hold a pistol in a week, right? But how long does it take me to teach you how to win, right? There's a big difference between, that. And it was funny. One of the guys, Casey Sabio, there was a colonel. He came out and he shot. He was a good shooter, like, legitimately, he was a good shooter. And he shot smoking hope in like 2.1 seconds. Right. And so it's 5 targets. Yeah, it's pretty good. Right. That's good. It's a good run. I don't care who you are. It's a good run. 2.2, something like that. I forgot what it was. Casey had been averaging a 180. So went through there and he was like, man, I've almost got you 3/10 away. And Casey looked at him. He's like, the difference is between a 210 and a 180. And he's like, what's that? He's like, 3 years and 100,000 rounds.
So that's the answer. If you're that close, it's that much more.
So that's why when it's like, the difference between the guy at 15th place and the guy at first place, that's where you get into those 3 years and 100,000 rounds. And it's not necessarily for the physical training of it, right? It's the mental thing, right? Because if you're capable of winning, but you don't believe you are, you'll never win. And that's a very like dumbed down, like cookie cutter, obviously statement. But and a lot of people say that, but they don't they don't apply themselves to develop it, right? So like and this is how it hit me. The guy asked me, what percentage of what you do is mental, and I'm like, dude, like to win a match, it's bordering on 100% mental, right? Because I can do all the physical stuff. All of us can do the physical stuff. It's 90 to 100% mental. He's like, okay, well, so that's 90 to 100% of your score is mental. I'm like, yeah. And he goes, well, what amount of resources are you leveraging toward developing that? If you just told me this one skill is 90 to 100% of your result, how much of your training is leveraged towards that? And I was like, whoa, that's a big question.
So if somebody's wanting to improve, and maybe that's an answer to this loaded question I gave you, is, well, if they could, so that's probably something they can somewhat work on just by themselves, right? Working on the mental side. I mean, are there books, are there videos? I mean, how do you go about doing that?
Yeah. So if you haven't read With Winning in Mind by Basham, that's a really good one.
Say that again.
It's With Winning in Mind by Lanny Basham. It's a very good book. And then there's a bunch of others that are pretty good. They're all kind of, and I take small parts out of them, right? Like you do anything. Maxim Gladwell, The Tipping Point, is a good book.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, but
10,000 reps.
Yeah, and there's some stuff in that where it's a good book for me personally, because it just verifies that what I see is true and someone else has seen it. Where we would have guys, the colonel, it's actually kind of to your point or to your question. We'd have guys like, hey, we're going to bring in some Army guys. We want Army guys to come into the AMU that are really good guys. And, we think they're going to be great shooters. And I'm like, hey, sir, like that's very unfair to them, because here's what's going to happen. You're here for a maximum of 2 years, right? The next guy doesn't know these guys and doesn't know if they're good guys or not good guys, right? All they see is results. So we get them in, and the gate to stay on the action team your first year is 80% as an average on your competitions. So if you average below 80%, you're gone. The next year it's 85, and next year it's 90, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you get a guy in, you pull him off his career path on an opportunity to give him the shooting slot. You give him all the best training, all the best equipment in the world, and you're asking him to get to a level in a year to 18 months that another guy has started. Casey started when he was 8. I started when I was 12. Max started when he was like 10, 11, something like that, right? Lena started when she was 2, right? So you're cramming, almost 10 years of experience into 18 months. And it's unfair, because not saying it can't be done. And a couple of guys have done it. Joel Turner did it. Robbie Johnson did it. I'm sure there's been a bunch of others, but those are the ones that come to mind right now. But most of them got sent down the road. And so now we've screwed them, because now they're going back to their real job, and they're not going to be competitive because they just lost 2 years of not doing their real job to do this other job. And so that's kind of your point of like, can you do it in 5 years? Maybe, but you better be in the right spot with the right people and honest to. So this is in my mental management class. This is one of the things that I think really helps people. And I read somewhere, but if you imagine a room, right, with nothing in it, but then inside of that room now is a bunch of balloons, and all your skills are on the balloons, right? So pistol draw, pistol reload, rifle positions, rifle dope, like, there's hundreds of balloons in this room. Mm-hmm. My job as a trainer is to run, or as a shooter, is to run around and hit these balloons and bat them up as high as I can, right? But I've only got 2 hands. So only 1 or 2 balloons are going up at a time, right? But as I'm batting up 1 or 2 of those balloons, what are all the rest of those balloons doing?
They're falling.
Right? So I always tell everybody, you're not doing something at the detriment of something else. You're doing something at the detriment of everything else, right?
Yeah.
So if I decide to go train rifle shooting today, it's not only at the detriment of pistol shooting and shotgun shooting and sniper rifle shooting, it's a detriment of family and business and everything else, right? So now I have to decide, like, how high do those balloons really need to be to accomplish what I'm really trying to do? Am I trying to be a national champion? Or am I trying to run a successful business? Or am I trying to be a very successful family person? Right. And if I look at it from that aspect of like, if I'm doing something and I'm in one now you don't look at it as one room, right? You look at it as a house of rooms. So I've got my shooting room, my family room, my work room, my all that, right? So I leave frantically from one room to run to the next room to train something else, right? So I've got to make sure that the balloon that I was just training on was elevated high enough that by the time I go through all my other rooms and I make it back to that room, it hasn't fallen below that line of acceptability.
So you have to have a level that's so proficient. So maybe, I mean, whether it's, if it's shooting, if it's ingrained in you, that you've kind of perfected that skill to be able to do other stuff.
If I need it perfected, right? So like if I told you like go get better at pistol shooting, what would you do?
I'd go dry fire more and I'd take some classes and just get more trigger time.
But to what level? So you dry fire, but to what level? Right?
Yeah.
I have no idea. Right. So like if I don't know that, I'm going to go out there and say, you know what, my comfort level, because I'm not shooting a lot of competitions, my comfort level is concealed carry work. I want to be able to draw my pistol from concealed carry in under 2 seconds. Right. That's how you know if you've accomplished it. Because if you just say, I'm going to get better at drawing the pistol from concealment, what's good enough? Because you can always be better. Right. But at some point I have to stop smacking that balloon because all the other balloons are falling. So I have to stop dry firing and I have to go put the kids to bed. So what point can I stop dry firing and go put the kids to bed?
Yeah. 5 minutes a week, right? 5 minutes a week.
That's all it takes.
All right, you guys, you have your marching orders from Daniel. At least start there. And I always like the thing where you say it's only 5 minutes a week. And if they can actually do 5 minutes a week, they'll probably actually give you probably 10 minutes a week, because once you start, you're already there. You're doing it, right? That's actually the mind trick Daniel's playing on you guys. And thanks for being on with us.
Oh man, thank you. I appreciate it. Been a lot of fun.
Some really good insight. Well, the secret and the answer to all these questions is you're not Daniel Horner, so good luck. Man, thanks for being on with us. And I can't wait to see what's next from you guys. It's always good.
Awesome, man. Thank you. Talk to you soon.
All right. That's it for us. We'll see you next time on Gun Talk Nation.